Hello everyone. My name is Strifium. Welcome back to another edition of the MRL. It's time for United States Grand Prix. It is the 19th round of MRL racing. However, it is only the 4th round for this division. It is the Americas Tier 2 action. We'll be taking to, of course, the Circuit of the Americas. This will be a very fun, exchange of racing, around 20 turns. We can see here 5.513 kilometers, 3.425 miles, the track distance, a couple of DRS zones as well. And it's just going to be a very serious haul of action-packed racing around this week, as this will be the first race ahead of many rounds of racing for the MRL Season 4 action. We have Tier 3, the Americas Tier 1, as well as Tier 2, Tier 1, and the APAC division. We take a look at the calendar. Of course, we are here for the 19th round. You can see it on the right-hand side. We are now just shy of the finale in Abu Dhabi. We have Mexico ahead, following that Brazil, and then it will be the 22nd round in Abu Dhabi. Massive shout out to our partners, Next Level Racing. You can find them on their website via the link in the description below for some awesome sim racing rigs. Motion sims, they have some wheel stands there, as well as light compact rigs that you can fold away very nicely. Now, with that being said, let's take a look at the standings. Duke Kaboom leading this championship with the two Alpha Tauris in hot pursuit, 44 and 41 points respectively for Jim Z and Captain Minor. Of course, Duke Kaboom plus over 60 points there, with Fury in 4th and Gazieg rounding out the top 5. Good for Gazieg. Love to see him doing that. You look at the constructors, it is Alpha Tauri, Racing Point, Renault, your top 3 are in. Now, that being said, we are just about ready to go racing here around the Circuit of the Americas. Before we jump into action, we of course have a 18-minute qualifying session. Following that, 50% distance running. There will be collisions enabled, safety car enabled, of course, as we have dynamic weather, full vehicle damage, strict corner cutting, and park firme on. Our setups will be set to full, so all of these drivers with the ability to get their setups dialed in how they like. Posting is disabled, so our drivers making sure they, keep slow through yellow sections. They never know what might be unfolding ahead of them. Race is a lot of fun. Checking in now to see what's going on. Flight delays can happen. We have 18 drivers in it. Getting some clarification from Gazieg as to where we are currently at. I do believe we are going to be having everyone readying up now. He has also done so. And it will be a very fun time to go racing here on the Circuit of the Americas. Circuit that I am not the most fond of to participate in. However, to watch them there is something else entirely. So I have a feeling we're going to be in for an absolute treat. Do now have the countdown ticking down. Fantastic. 10 seconds to go now. Bit of a double count there. Well, as we jump in, there you have it. USA. Of course, south of where I am. I'm a Canadian here, and we'll have to go to that Grand Prix. Never been to a Grand Prix, but we'll see. 20 turns, of course, around here. The Circuit of the Americas in Austin, Texas. Going to be a very fun time to see these drivers go through here. I'd like to see some rain. Please rain. Fingers crossed. Rain? No rain. All right. Sunshine and rain, I imagine. Very good. Very good. Here we go. Gaziag, Turtle Rave, Jimsy, Captain Minor, the Babatunde, Polo Q, Larkin, Steph, Jacob, as well as Spinini, Will Gibson, Sidewinder, Wordad, Jack 5, Paula, Bolts, Walfalorian, JA Games, and Melee on this grid. 19 drivers, 18 minutes. The clock now ticking down, and we'll just have to see how all of these drivers jump through into action. Been a very interesting 3 rounds of racing here in this America's Tier 2 division as we started action in Singapore, following that up with a very, very interesting race in Russia where we saw 5 safety cars. Then last week we saw a race through, of course, Japan, where we saw 4 safety cars. So we'll have to see. We'll have to see what the America's Tier 2 division is going to bring us today. As the first driver on an outlap here is Will Gibson. No, excuse me, it is the camouflaged Haas of the Turtle Rave who snuck through on me. And we'll just have to see what he is able to put through on the board. Saw him take the first lap time opportunity last week as well. Medium selected for one of the Alpha Towers. That's Captain Minor in 4th on the timing tower, and we'll have to see what he does. A fairly long lap here around the Circuit of the Americas, and I imagine we'll see a ton of action coming out of that Sector 2 straight. That's turn 12, of course, the left-hander, in through turns 13 and 14. Now, we're watching the Turtle Rave come through a very interesting section of circuit. This is Sector 3, 16, 17, now 18. This is where we find him, and as he comes in, getting ready for his lap, this is where we see him in the penultimate turn of 19, and this will be turn 20 as the Haas begins his run here around Texas. And Turtle Rave in the Haas, it is the home circuit for this constructor, as some may know. The Haas team, but Gene Haas from the United States. Went through 3, 4, and 5 now. Not very good what he did there. That's a big snap from the Haas. He was coming through turn 6 into 7, and that's going to be a big lap drop for him. Will Gibson now on the rear will begin his run. His teammate Wordad is on an outlap, but we see Will Gibson coming into the hairpin, and he'll be the next driver to come through. Turn 11 now, heading down this very long straight into turn 12. Braking just ahead of the 50-meter board here, utilizing that inside curb. Good the first time can be. You can see ahead of him now, coming up to a little bit of traffic. This is Captain Minor ahead on some medium compound tires. He's on an outlap. See if there's any kind of impediment or blockage here for the racing point. Captain Minor could very well be beginning a lap, and it looks like he very well will be. And there is a big tap from Will Gibson. No regard for the driver even remotely. He's just going to drive through him instead of 31.218. And I'm not sure about that one. I'm not sure if that was the right decision to be taken there. I mean, yes, Captain Minor on that outlap, about to start a flyer, but like, yikes. That's quite a questionable contact, without a doubt. Babatunde now will jump on with the Renault as he will look to come through out of turn 11. We'll take a look at the times on the board. We have 3 sets so far. Will Gibson with that provisional pole. Wafflorian 32.086. Larkin, excuse me, jumps into the front row at 31.984 ahead of Waffle. Benini a 32.627. Sidewinder, the Red Bull driver, will jump over there for a moment. A 31.181. He beats out the Racing Point, which is nice to see. And we'll see another time come through as, well, Jacob goes 3rd quickest, and JA Games moves into 6th. Back on over to Babatunde. Babatunde now coming through turn 20. Going to set out a good lap here. What's it going to be? It's going to be pole position for now. 12 minutes remaining. A 30.926. Very nice. Stoltz in the Alfa Romeo will follow that up with a 31.077, and things are quite tight between the pair of them. 0.151 the gap between the two on the front row, and excuse me as Wordad makes it even tighter. Less than a tenth between one Racing Point and the Renault. Wordad is through. 30.999. Very tight run from Racing. A few other drivers on the move now. We have 10 times set in this session with just about 12 minutes remaining. Quite a few drivers on out laps, among them the Turtle Rave. I do believe we'll get to see him go again soon, but his teammate Polo Q will jump on with Polo Q as he goes for a run here around the Circuit of the Americas. Back to action now. Sorry about that, as I was having a bit of an audio issue, but of course Polo Q for a bit of a cheeky toe off of Waffalorian coming down into turn 12. I don't know if it was worth it for the Haas driver. He will be looking to set this time though. Saw him navigate through sector 1 quite neatly. Now through 19 through 20. This will be a valid run from the Haas. What will it be? P8. Very nicely done. His teammate Turtle Rave on the move. Jimsy coming out of turn 11 on an invalidation. Let's take a look at who else we can find here, as Jack 5 is on the run into the hairpin as well. We have a couple of Mercedes on the grid. Paula, Melee. Melee will be the first of the two to set a potential run here, and the first driver on the grid running presently to potentially come through an improvement. So we'll take a look at what Melee in the Mert can do coming through into turn 19. Very quick indeed. What will the time be now through the final turn? Oh, hello, says the Mercedes. A 130.837. Very nicely done. Paula coming in the Mercedes now. Out of turn 20. What can the other Mercedes do? Third position for Paula. And she'll be thrilled about that, certainly. Very nicely done. Jack 5. He crosses into 7th position. He ran a 31.188, and this grid is starting to tighten up from first all the way down to 11th position. Less than 8/10 the separation. Jimsy, he's on another flyer. Steph also began, and Steph will be setting through a time ahead of him in the Williams. A lot of action in this qualifying. A very long run here, especially on the outlap around the Circuit of the Americas. As you can see on the timing tower, the average time of 1:31. Steph setting a nice purple sector 2. Williams coming through now, turn 15. Time can be, for this will be the first time. Steph Well done from the Williams, a 30.5, and what a margin to set himself ahead of Melee. And as I say it, Jimsy sets himself between Melee and Steph. A 30.772 out of the AlphaTauri, very neat. See that, Captain Miner, he's on the run and he's making his way through turn 18. Love to see all of these competitive times starting to show through as we round ourselves down the clock in this qualifying. Captain Miner with a neat run. It's a 31.158. And as we look at the separation, that midfield, whew, it is extraordinarily tight right now. Very tight. And who is that just came through? That was an Alfa Romeo. Larkin into 6th position. Jacob into 2nd. Just shy of 2/10 off of where Stefano landed himself in the Williams. Fury, the Spanish driver, not on an active flyer, it would seem. Curious to see what the Ferrari has in mind, as I think he has just come into session. Yes, excuse me, Cheery. The 20th driver now on this grid. We love to see that. Of course, it will not give us a clear indication as to whether he is on an out lap, in lap, or a flying lap. But he will get an opportunity to set a run. Whether it will stand is entirely a different story, considering we've seen it before where drivers coming through in the middle of qualifying session, they can unfortunately get put to the back of the bus regardless. But let's take a look now as the Spanish driver comes across the line to begin a flying lap. Fury coming through 4 or 5, now through turn 6, and now we see the split into sector 2. Now we're moving through turn 10. Total Rave would appear to be on a flyer behind him, if I'm not mistaken. The Haas driver yet to set a time here in qualifying, and his time running thin. Gazieg still no time set, and we just saw an improvement from, I think that was JA Games, yes, moving himself into 8th position. It would appear there's a yellow flag at the turn 20 or pit entry as a few drivers begin to come into the pit lane. All right, Sheary now to the line. 12th position for his first run, and a solid first run coming through. Hardle Rave now, the Haas driver. It's good for 4th, finally getting that time in, and he'll be happy about it. Getting himself very, very marginally ahead of Jimsy there in that AlphaTauri. It's quite tight between the pair of them. Might even be tighter between him and P3. Love to see times like this on the grid. At that, all the way down to 17th position. This is the Tier 2 Americas. Gazieg. He is in character this evening, as he has yet to leave that pit lane. And we'll just have to see if he chooses to do so at any point in time over the next 3.5 minutes, which would be very lovely. See a variety of drivers on outlaps. His teammate, one of them, Stefano, he was on that provisional pole step until Sidewinder in the Red Bull had something to say about it. And well, Sidewinder 303, that 130.259, a very solid run from the Red Bull. And this grid is quite tight, just all the way down through to where Ghazi is sitting. Ghazi probably just knows he'd be starting at the back of the grid anyway. Not much sense in him maybe wasting the rubber Maybe he's just very confident about his overtaking ability. Only time will tell. Melee is on the move, and he's coming through, and yet to see if he is on a run to set a time here. Yeah, he is. Okay, so we come through turn 20 for the Mercedes. What's the time going to be? What an improvement. 3/10 found out of the Mercedes camp, and that's third position for Melee. Just behind him, Waffleorian in the McLaren. I do not believe he is on an active flyer. He could very well be, though. His fuel light just came on, and he is not running full throttle at the moment, so definitely not pushing. Jack 5 on an invalidated run. Steph has begun. We'll ride along with him as he will look to improve potentially on his 30.514. What's the split? He is not improving through Sector 1 at the moment. We'll see what he can pick up through Sector 2. Well, I don't think it's going to be much after that mistake. He has Melee in front of him in the Mercedes, pulling off now to the left-hand side. I know this circuit, this section of track, this Sector 3, a very, very big favorite for one of my good friends, Mr. Unicorn, who I commentate with regularly. And here comes Steph on his way in, not happy with that. Sector 3 here, providing a lot of switchback opportunity and overtaking ability for drivers. And if I'm not mistaken, that is one of its big draws for my British counterpart. What a shakeup of cars we're now seeing begin runs. Babatunde, potential favorite for a solid run here. We're going to ride along with the Renault and see what he is capable of. He was very, very shy of getting a serious finish last week. Navigating through turns 3, 4, 5, 6, and of course now 7, 8, 9, and there goes the lap, and that's very unfortunate, as he will not be able to get another run in, and that will be a P9 start for him. Who else can we take a look at who is flying? Well, Foltz will be nearing completion of his lap. The Alfa Romeo. What can he do now? Coming to the line, the Alfa Romeo. Foltz. He goes fourth. It's a 2.5 improvement. 30.637 on the timing tower. Jacob, a driver who's been showing very good pace this evening. He is also flying just ahead of him. It is the provisional pole sitter of Sidewinder. Who can we find even further up on this grid? Paula now coming through into sector, well, not sector 3, but of course the final turn of this circuit. What an improvement. 3/10 found from the Mercedes. Very, very nicely done there. Take a look back to Sidewinder now. If not, we can find Larkin. Excuse me, the Alfa Romeo coming through turn 20 now. Big snap there to the line. No improvement. Very, very close. Cheery will be looking for an improvement. What's it going to be? P2 from the Spanish driver. In the Ferrari. Sidewinder now. He does improve. It's a 130.177 to the line behind the Ferrari. It was the Renault of Jacob, that 130.498. The final time for him. Turtle Rave. Can the Haas do anything about the top 5? No, he is very, very close to Melee, and he will go 6th quickest here as we round out this qualifying session. What a session it was at that. From first all the way down to 18th position, the gap is 1 second. All drivers qualifying on the softs. Spanini in 19th position, 2.1 seconds off of the leader, Gazieg, the only driver in this session without the capability to set a qualifying lap. What a race this is going to shape up to be. There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. There is the qualifying classification. Sidewinder 303, the American Red Bull driver here. Home Grand Prix for him, it would seem. A 30.177. Very neatly done, as it's Chiri, the Spanish driver here in the Ferrari, a 30.406. 0.229 the gap between him and the pole sitter, with Jacob rounding out the top three in the Renault, a 30.498. Just 3 tenths off of pole. Of course, we'll go down through the rest of this grid with you on the formation lap. Is step and melee 4 and 5. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I didn't know. Now I know. That is some rain. Lots of it. And I'm absolutely thrilled about it. And I don't think the drivers are going to be too thrilled about it, but, well, this is going to be good. This is going to be good, and I just wish you folks, ladies and gentlemen, can see the size of the grin on my face. And as we get into this racing action around the Circuit of the Americas, I would just like to say, of course, well, welcome. My name is Strifium, taking you through all of it, and my little humble abode here in Canada. And of course, massive shout out to our great partners here at Misfits Next Level Racing. They have some great products over on their website. You can check them out via the link in the description below, or some amazing sim racing rigs, motion sims, wheel stands, accessories, everything you really need. And look at this, full wet compound tires all the way through. And this, well, we've come off of 2 very, very difficult races for these grids, 5 and then 4 safety cars in them respectively, and we'll just have to see what this presents these 20 drivers. Chiri, unfortunately, despite setting a fantastic qualifying lap to get himself into that top 5, well, realistically that front row, he did join that qualifying late, and we see how that bug has caused him to get kicked to the back of this grid. But it's all about now finding grip in torrential conditions. Look at the tire tracks following the cars. You can see there is very, very little visibility here for these drivers. As we come down the grid, we can see bolts on the rear of Turtle Rave in these conditions. The spray, look at the spray that we are seeing unfold here, and this is a very dark and gloomy day if you are a driver in one of these open seater cars. That is for absolute certain. Well, we have 2 Americans on the front row. This is their home circuit. Steph, well, he's an American-Italian or Italian-American or one or the other, however you wish to put it, and he's a great guy. And well, we have quite the lineup of racers here in the Tier 2 Americas division, and quite the lineup of drivers in this top 3. One driver to note, Gazieg, one of my notable rivals, 19th position. So even in not setting a time, he managed to find himself a position gain due to a technicality. I imagine he's got a little bit of a grin on his face, that sly raccoon he is. Now, this is where the fun begins, ladies and gentlemen. We come out of turn 19, we move through into turn 20, and this is where we're about to begin as Sidewinder brings us through the final turn to get us set on formation. And you can just see this grid. It does not look very appealing, even remotely. Chiri now the final driver to the grid in this Ferrari, as he is behind his teammate Spanini. Not the best qualifying for the Scuderia, all things said and considered after all of that. But here we go. 3, 4, 5 red lights here around Austin, Texas. We're here at the Circuit of the Americas, and we are away as there is a jump start off the line. It's Melee who takes it, and that is not good news for any of these drivers, as there is a massive snap for the Turtle Rave there. These wet conditions catching him massively. Look at the action. Is it ever quiet as we come up through this first section? A lot of volley for position right now. Paula, Babatunde, things are wheel to wheel between the pair of them. Jimsy, Will Gibson have exchanged as well, it would appear, and Wordad and Polo Q. Well, it looks like this train is getting settled. As I say that, excuse me, Babatunde, he's on the inside of Jimsy. He's looking for a move. We're trying to get the look. He's still there. He's still with Jimsy, but he hasn't been able to get that move through just yet. Jimsy in 9th right now, as we have an issue. Well, not an issue. Polo Q on the rear of Waffleorian. A big cut on the left-hand side for Polo Q. He might not have even been able to see the curbing, though. It's wheel-to-wheel for Waffle and Polo Q. Gauzy's here to sneak through. Just ahead, JA Games has exchanged with Will Gibson. Will Gibson's got him for 7th position. Jimsy's right here looking at him as well. Spanini and Waffleorian exchange at the rear. Jimsy up the inside of JA right now. It's tight as we come out in through turn 12. Oh, this is very intense racing, as these conditions really make it, well, an absolute thriller. Gauzieg very deep and wide here. He opens the door for Wordad. Wordad on the inside. Gauzieg with a solid exit will push through. Jimsy, JA Games continuing to duel. Jimsy switching back through on the inside now as we come through turn 18. This is very nice for the AlphaTauri. What a move for him in these conditions. What a risk paying off here. Will Gibson on the inside of turn 20. That's Stoltz. Will with a solid move here. Jimsy wanting to really inherit an opportunity in a position as Melee will serve that drive-through penalty. We're only on lap 2 of this race. You love to see all of this action unfolding. Jimsy now very close with Stoltz. Very close still. A little bit of contact between the pair of them. Where's JA Games in all of this? JA Games is on the rear with a little bit of a front row seat and almost no visibility. Simon Tower right now playing a little bit of a game with us as everyone's tight in this grid. Babatunde on the rear of the McLaren. JA really wanting to make something happen with Stoltz. Look at this weather. It is absolutely coming down. Larkin has gone very deep into the hairpin here. Babatunde trying to get things back under control, as it might have been a slide for Larkin, but he has made it ahead of that Renault. Of course, we saw JA Games with the Renault in his rearview mirror coming through Sector 1. Now Larkin on the rear of the McLaren. What's going to happen here? A massive lunge coming from Babatunde. Wheel to wheel as we come through turn 12. Very, very tight, but that's going to be Babatunde back through into 9th position. Neatly done for him. Very nice. Clean so far. Tight, but clean. Jimsy on the rear of Will Gibson right now. Of course, we have no DRS as we begin lap 3. You can see why if you are looking at all of these little pellets of rain smoking down into the cockpit of this AlphaTauri that we're on board with. Will Gibson trying to just reel in Jack 5. Jack 5 going really deep here just ahead of Will. Jack 5 dropping time to Steph, and there really is a solid amount of separation between the top 4 runners. Jack 5 probably under the most threat of them, and he's losing a lot to Will through this first sector, and most especially as we now jump into Sector 2. Will's on for a personal best sector through that first section, and just about half a second the gap between these two. And we look down the grid and everyone's still relatively tight. The gap through from first all the way down to 20th position, only 24 seconds right now. The Turtle Rave dropping off a little bit more than he wants. Melee, he's about 19 seconds out from where Sidewinder sits, and not terrible considering everyone's really within 1 second of one another. We have a couple of drivers, a couple elements of separation on the grid here. Will Gibson a little bit later on the brakes at the end of the long straight. Of course, if you're enjoying the stream, if you're enjoying this YouTube premiere, and you like seeing league racing, do us a favor here on the YouTube channel and hit that like button. And of course, if you're new to the MRL, we have a ton of racing like this. Babatunde with a big issue. Where's Larkin? Not able to do anything about it. And he's going to be kicking himself for that. Yeah, of course. Hit that like button. Maybe leave us a comment. Say hi in the chat. We love to see it. Now, I wonder at what point we will see the Renault driver take an opportunity on the McLaren ahead. JA Games, experienced driver. He's not a driver that goes down without a fight. The rain makes it so difficult to overtake, and I mean this track, the separation we saw in the qualifying, Cheery overtakes Spanini, the two Ferraris exchange. This track, it doesn't give you a lot of opportunities to begin with through that first sector as much, and of course, let alone in the rain, it's going to be very difficult. You don't have DRS into turn 12. I do believe the rain is lightening up, and I wonder at what point we're going to see a switch to the intermediate compound tires, if at all. The spray, however, does not appear to be showing this. One thing I love about rain conditions is how drivers, when they begin on the wet compound tires and they come through to potentially drier conditions, how the tire wear can play a role and play with their head, causing some drama and some late switches. Here goes Babatunde around 18. He looks for it. JA holding well, but there is a move on. What a snap coming off the curb for the Renault. JA had a little bit of a shake, but nowhere near the size of what we saw come out of Babatunde's Renault here. And this has really opened him up to Larkin as well. And Babatunde can't have too many slips like this, or he will be heavily exposed to this Alfa Romeo. And should he become threatened or become engaged with the Alfa Romeo, that really gives JA an opportunity to escape that battling. Paula, just a second shy here, and ooh, there goes a bit of a, I don't know if there was contact there, but JA Games seems to have had an issue through this section of circuit. No damage on the front wing, but it could be that he just had a shake through these wet conditions. Will Gibson on the inside of Jack into turn 11 now through the hairpin, the racing point on the inside. Jimsy looking for an opportunity. You can just see how much speed he loses when he gets onto that wet line. Will Gibson now moving onto that wet line. Jack 5 is going to move into 4th position for a moment. Will a little bit later on the brakes here with a huge squeeze. These two are going to have contact. Will Gibson, not sure what to say about this between the two drivers there. Jimsy now looking to try and hold on to 4th as he moves through the pair. Then Will Gibson back through. And as this fighting unfolds, we have Larkin now. JA Games. Babatunde's made it through, and we didn't get to see it because of that fighting. But here goes Larkin now through on the McLaren. Paula is on the rear of this. She's caught quite well. Will Gibson and Steph. Well, Steph is really dropping. He's lost out to Will Gibson. Will Gibson on his way into the pit lane here, as is Steph, and Jimsy stayed out. Jack 5 will follow him, and that'll be Sidewinder, Jacob, Jimsy, Jack 5, and Babatunde now your top 5 racers here with 3 drivers into the pit lane. Very action-packed race so far. Oh, Jack 5 doing a little bit of a drift through Sector 1 there, and he doesn't want to be doing too much of that as he just blows through one of the nice apexes presented to him. Takes a 3-second penalty for his troubles, and he's not the only one with a penalty. It would appear it was the time for those penalties to come through as they came. Well, the 3-second time penalties came in a trio, as we saw a multitude of drivers take penalties there. We can see now 5 drivers on the grid with 3-second time penalties. Jack 5, Polo Q, Gauziag, as well as Melee and Turtle Rave, all with black and white flags on this grid, and you can see the position changes now, as well as the stops. A very intense race. What a qualifying it was as well. Everyone's so tight in this grid, and I love to see grids like that. Now we see Will Gibson, Tholtz, and JA, of course. The big thing with those pit stops was they went to those intermediate compound tires. We look at the gap between Will Gibson and Waffalorian right now. Was it time to switch? Will Gibson coming through a very, very fast section of circuit, whereas Waffalorian, well, he's finding grip maybe in sector. Ooh, what's happened here? Jack 5 has spun around. He's rejoining the circuit, it would appear, coming through turns 17 and 18. Will there be contact? Where is he? That is very dangerous. Unsure as to what happened there for the Red Bull driver, but we can see now the switch has been made to inters for the race leaders. Sidewinder, Jacob, they have come in, and where is this going to land them in comparison to the drivers that came in earlier? Well, I'll tell you something. Will Gibson, he is all the way down in 16th position, and we'll see where he lands as a result now of that undercut attempt. He has dropped off massively to the drivers 1 through 3 right now, without a doubt. At the very least, he's dropped off massively to Jimsy. That undercut did not work for him. What a move we're going to see here around the outside, though. The traction really paying off. That was as easy as you like and as easy as it gets for an overtake, I suppose, in wet conditions. Around that section of track. Larkin. Here we go again. Look at this. Steph. Oh, Steph. Steph went for fresh wets, and I'm just shaking my head here, thinking, what have you done, my friend? This is not what you've needed to do in this race. This is not good for him at all. This is going to drop him massively here, and he is definitely not going to be happy about this. Commentating all of this. Oh, look at this. Polo Q, Steph, wheel to wheel. Now, Steph does not have a leg to stand on here in this action against this Haas. Look at the grip differential for those green-walled tires. There's nothing in it for him. Steph is about to drop like a stone through the entirety of this grid. He needs to get in and stop the bleeding. And the problem is, if this circuit's going to dry out completely and he needs to come in again potentially for a set of slicks, he is going to be in a very bad state. Here he comes now. He's coming in, and I would not be shocked to see a retirement here. But, of course, there is always potential for safety cars. But this is a tough situation. That is a very, very tough situation to find yourself in. Okay. Wow. So he's going to come in. Of course, it's going to be the intermediates. Fury on the hunt for Captain Minor. Captain Minor on the rear of Paula, and there's a little bit of a train formed in for that final points paying position. Meanwhile, 1 through 10, there's been a significant separation between those drivers with some of the differentials and strategy. As there's no DRS right now and the conditions are still playing tricks with the drivers, we're not going to see a lot of potential overtaking in that section of the grid at the moment. However, Tholtz is getting within that 1 second range of JA. He came in 1 lap later than Tholtz, but of course Tholtz holding on to 3 seconds right now in a time penalty. say so far so good. No safety cars, knock wood. And Gazieg has Jack 5 up his rear right now. Gazieg has made up a significant amount of positions, moving up 6 slots in this one. Cheery as well, moving up 8 positions. Sidewinder at 147.639, and I'm not sure what Jack 5 is doing right here with Gazieg, but he is just going to bully his way through on Gazieg, and that is a mugging if I have ever seen one. I'm not even sure if it's legal, but that was a mugging if I've ever seen one from the Red Bull driver. And Gazieg, he's a Canadian, so if it was me and him, he probably said sorry to Jack for hitting him. But I'm not I'm not even sure what just happened there. If you're in the chat, let me know, because that was wow. Yeah, I'm not gonna be the judge of that, but yeah. Captain Minor, 3-second time penalty, and he is another driver to join the club. And I have to say, Polo Q, I hadn't realized it. I hadn't checked in with the penalty totals for some of the drivers and the duration of seconds they have taken at the end of the race, but I have to say Polo Q is really racking up some numbers there. Steph has joined the club. But Polo Q has really begun to maybe rack up that number as a potential accolade. I am not entirely sure. I'm only joking. That's not funny. But yes, 13. The number needs to be kept low, not high, Polo Q. Here he comes under threat from Paula now. Will there be a lunge? What a lunge here from Paula up the inside of turn 12. Will this be the move done? Oh, wow. What a trigger pull from the Mercedes there. Here we have Polo Q fighting back through on the inside. Very neat fight here. 13 and 14. Now we come through into turn 15. Back on the inside for Polo Q. This is going to be just a slight lunge ahead for Polo Q. Does he hold this against Paula? Paula, well, she's got that inside back through 18. Is this going to be enough to hold off Polo Q? Polo Q very, very harshly on the rear here. I don't know if that was on or not for Polo Q, but Paula pushing back through now, coming in through off the runoff. Neatly done overall, I think, here for Paula to get this 9th position. Polo Q definitely going to have an exposed Mercedes to deal with on the way into turn 1. Paula not having any of it. What a fantastic battle we're seeing here. Such difficult, hard racing we're seeing from both drivers. Neither driver giving in, neither driver giving an inch. It's what you love to see, and it's in the rain nonetheless, with Captain Minor really getting his money's worth in this 11th position right now, watching this battle unfold. My, oh my, you love to see it. And Paula, she got that position in the 9th. Polo Q fighting tooth and nail to hold it, is going to hold it for now. And Paula, well, we know what she's capable of now. Polo Q on notice, and Captain Minor, maybe with a front row seat, has an idea here of how he might be able to handle the Mercedes as well. Looking into the hairpin, nothing doing just yet, but I am loving this race tonight. Absolutely loving it. We're on lap 10 out of 28, and if you're enjoying it, let us know in the chat or in the comment section as well. And for the love of God, if the racing hasn't done it, if you can help me with the solo commentary getting it done, get that smashed thumbs up done. Hit that thumbs up. Like the video. Greatly appreciated. Gazieg, Jack 5 having a duel. Gazieg, well, he'll be thrilled to be back through, as Jack 5 has damage. Wordad smells it, and he wants to get through on the Red Bull as well. Cheery on the rear, Captain Minor. We're really seeing no shortage of battling here around COTA this evening, even with the very wet circuit. This reminds me very much of a race I commentated long ago in a galaxy far, far away with Unicorn, as Jack 5 jumps into the pit lane. Yes, one of the first races I ever commentated with Unicorn, if not, actually, it was the first race I ever commentated with Unicorn, was in a league called CFR. Clubman Formula Racing. Shout out to the guys there. Fraser, of course, the founder of that one, and that brought Unicorn and I together. And if you don't know Unicorn, you must be living under a rock, because I, of course, commentate with him all the time for Tier 2 and Tier 1. Find all the replays here on the YouTube channel. A lot of pit stops coming through now. A medium switch for a Ferrari. And are we coming to that point where it is time for dries? That is a huge question for me. We're going to take a look shortly to see how things are going for Spanini. Sidewinder Jacob separated by just shy of a second, and Jimsy is 6.5 in the rear view of that potential front row battle, as we have a yellow flag up through sector 1 and 2. The Turtle Rave has had a spin. He has had a spill, but he is intact, and he will be going again. A great amount of torque pushing through those wheels, and who knows, it could very well just be time for the dries. Spanini coming behind him, maybe the example there, as you can see Turtle Rave continuing to struggle here. Another yellow flag has been drawn. That is extremely unfortunate for him. Tries to get the temperatures in those tires, I imagine, under control coming through turn 10. And while the hunt for points is still in full effect as Paula hunts down Polo Q, Captain Minor, and Cheery in the rearview mirrors. Just ahead of them, not too far, well, 7.5 seconds ahead of them realistically. JA Games is holding off 2 Alfa Romeos for 6th position. I imagine that's not very easy. Captain Minor on the rear of Paul. I wonder at what point we may see a trigger pulled here, as there's an issue. What's happened? What has happened here? Will Gibson has spun. This is on turn 11. No, excuse me, turn 10. And this will be an overtake for JA. Will Gibson now, he has 2 Alfa Romeos to contend with. He is on the inside of Stoltz. He is going to be on the inside of Stoltz where contact has been made. Larkin with the visual here. Will Gibson already with damage on the front right. I don't know if that was an opportunity that should have been seized for Will. But you can see this has really provided JA an escape route from the 2 Alfa Romeos. And what a dive here from Will Gibson. And I am not certain. I have just seen this. I don't know if that was I don't know what I just saw there. I'm going to move ahead now into something else. Paula has moved ahead. Okay. We're going to get it together. Stoltz on the rear of Polo Q. Oh man, Polo Q has dispatched that Alfa Romeo as he has now provided himself some separation. I'm not entirely sure. Does Stoltz have damage here? I don't know. There's some cars coming. JA's come in and he's fit for dries. Wow, this race is really wild. This is a wild campaign for sure. Waffalorian's picked up 5 seconds for speeding into the pit lane. While the rain has certainly stopped, this could be huge for JA. DRS has been enabled, and I think JA has nailed this pit stop. I think JA has, without a doubt, nailed this pit stop. Polo Q has not nailed the exit, certainly, however. He's got damage on the front end. Oh, dear. Captain Minor. Oh, very tight at the rear, Paul, as we come through the hairpin. Turn 11, of course. Cheery's there. Not tight enough, though. And these intermediates, I imagine they are going to be burning up. JA Game, 7.5 seconds to go. Now, this is huge for JA Games. No penalties on him, and he is in that McLaren absolutely hunting down this gap to the intermediate runners, and I imagine it will be a substantial gain through sector 3 in a moment's time as well. Waffalorian, look at this. Oh my, what we have here. Steph on the outside, Waffalorian on the inside. Polo Q not sure what to do with himself, and it's Will Gibson in 16th position ahead of the Haas, and they are gone. They are gone, and we've had another issue. Jack 5 through sector 1. Not sure what's happened in this Red Bull. He's just taken 3 seconds for corner cutting. Captain Minor into the pit lane barrier. This is horrible, and I'm not sure what... Did he and Cheery have a wheel-to-wheel fight into the pit lane barrier? I have no idea. Oh my. What are we seeing in this race? This is lap 4. We're only halfway. We're only halfway through this race. Captain Minor is in. Where is JA Games? Someone. 1.9 on the rear Babatunde. He's got the temperature in his tires. All 4 drivers ahead of him with no temperature into their tires in comparison. Larkin and Gauzieg have appeared to have exchanged. This race has been absolutely wild. Absolutely wild. Sidewinder on the inside into the hairpin. Jacob on the medium compound tires. I think he is on the better strategy here. I think Sidewinder, well, this is gonna be interesting. This is gonna be very interesting to see. I think Jacob might be on the better tires here. Sidewinder is going to have a lot of grip and a lot of pace right now, but I think Sidewinder might have been put on the wrong tires here. Larkin on the rear of Gauzieg. We see a medium versus soft differential again between these two, but I think Larkin is just a faster driver than Gauzieg. We have a retirement. That's another retirement in the pit lane. Turtle Rave Jack 5 out of this one, and I'm very thankful to see Jack 5 make his way into the pit lane safely after his unfortunate issue. Gauzieg sets the fastest lap pretty well as I was about to go and look for the fastest lap, but that's a 39. Excuse me. Holtz gets the fastest lap. Really, I knew it was an error. Gauzy got it. 38. 37, 615, and it keeps exchanging as Steph takes it on a medium set. Fresh rubber for him. He'll be loving that as he's dropped 10 positions in the race. Panini, the 3-second time penalty. That's not what you want to be doing if you're in a potential contention for points. But he has now 6 seconds, and he is 12.7 on the rear of 16th position. That is a difficult position to find yourself in any case. Melee looking to be in a good position here. Hards versus mediums at the moment, finding a good chunk of speed on the rear of the Racing Point. Wordad in, well, he is on notice with Melee. DRS charging him down. Do we see an opportunity taken here? Look at the speed. I don't know. It's not close enough if it was me. And surely Melee thinking better of it. Will Gibson, however, he goes up the inside of Steph, and well, there's some karma for the Racing Point. He just stares down Waffalorian after a day late and $1 short move from the Racing Point. Instant karma is what that's called. Something else has happened here. Waffalorian, well, it would appear Waffalorian has also had an issue through Sector 3. I imagine a lot of drivers on the grid right now asking themselves where the safety car is being, considering the volume of safety cars we had seen last race. And Will Gibson, after his race, certainly going to retire it in the pit lane after a lot of question marks were sparked through this campaign about that drive. Sector 1 yellow flag as a result of the retirement, and Polo Q will inherit the position as well. Larkin having a move. Here he goes, looking at Gauzieg. He's still on the inside. Gauzieg. Ooh, it's tight, but Gauzieg with solid traction on the softs right now in comparison is going to move through as Wordad and Melee are having a drag race into the same turn. Melee is through on the hards. Very neatly done. Melee 3.7 now, the gap to the driver ahead in Cheery for that final points pain position. Cheery dancing in and around that 1 second range of Stoltz. Stoltz in the Alfa Romeo, he's dancing around that DRS of Paula, and you saw quite the train unfold for the final points positions earlier. Paula finding herself in great form and position right now as Larkin hunts down Gazier just ahead. Gazier, I think he might have a problem here in the Alfa Romeo behind him. I think Larkin knows that he has a bit of a pace differential over on the Canadian ahead of him in Gazi. A few gaps now. Well, there's still some great racing happening in this grid as drivers really work to push and break down these gaps. Stoltz now braking within that 1 second and DRS range on the rear, of course, for Stoltz. Look at the charge coming out of him on the Mercedes ahead. He wants to join his teammate. Larkin doesn't really want Stoltz to join him as much as he wants to get Gazier for 6th position. However, Gazier, of course, he's holding on to 3 seconds, and there's a multitude of penalties throughout this grid. 19 seconds for one of the Haas drivers. The Haas driver's still in this race. That's Polo Q there, and Stoltz. Oh, look at this. He has really caught up with Paula here, and he has been able to break down this gap. Melee, fortunately, has collected a 3-second time penalty, which will bring him now to 9 seconds. So penalties will play a role for a few of these drivers on this grid. We haven't even had a safety car, knockwood, in this grid, and even if we did, it would play worse off for anyone with penalties, especially at this phase of the race. Penalty being awarded to Stoltz, which it gets him to 6 seconds now. And if you're Paula, or if you're Larkin, or even Cheery in this case, potentially even Gazier, you are not overly concerned knowing how many points that driver has, as Polo Q has really had a rough day today in this car. Yeah. Yellow flag, certainly, for the pit entry of Polo Q there in the Haas, and that is definitely a Gunther Steiner door smash moment. If you are looking at the state of that car on the way into that pit lane, is what I'll say about that one. Wordad on the hunt for Melee. Using a little bit of that curb on exit here. We're on the 19th lap. We have just a bit of racing to go yet. Not just a bit. We have tons of racing to go yet. That's a lot of time if you're in a race like this, considering how the strategies have unfolded thus far. A few drivers not really able to get to terms, but look at the sun now. Look at the sun now here in Austin. Here at the Circuit of the Americas, the United States Grand Prix, and here goes Larkin on the rear of Gazier for a move coming into turn 11, utilizing the entirety of the outside of this track, taking a 3-second time penalty to boot, putting him now at 9. Gazier says, no, we're going to move through back into 6th position for now. You can have DRS and you can get it done properly if you like. And here comes Larkin now with a ton of speed, and he'll take that opportunity back from the Canadian driver. Gazier once again says sorry as he's passed for another position into turn 12. Now Wordad, Melee, wheel to wheel, and Wordad's been looking for this for some time. Very tight. Melee, of course, he's on the hards, and this is giving Wordad a slight edge, I think, right now, especially as the dry conditions continue to set in. We're on lap 20. Sidewinder, Jacob, Jimsy, your top 3. Jacob having a very consistent drive. And as I said earlier, when we saw Sidewinder jump onto these softs, I think we're going to get to a point where Jacob really sees these mediums to come in versus that car ahead of him. I really don't know what we're going to see. Of course, Sidewinder could be a great defensive driver, but there is this very DRS straight that we find ourselves on now that Jacob is just without a range on. Word out on the rear melee still, and just ahead Paula, Cheery, all in that battle once again. Tholtz on the rear of Gauzieg. Penalties in it for Gauzieg. Tholtz, Larkin. 6 seconds for Tholtz. Larkin had 3 seconds. Excuse me. So the Alfa Romeo is not going to be thrilled about all of the penalties they managed to pick up here in this one, as Jacob now, he is just within that 1 second range. And look at this, he will have the DRS. And has the time come for those softs to really betray Sidewinder here? Look at the battery on Jacob. He's just around that 30% range. Sidewinder just around that 30% range. Wheel to wheel now for Melee and Wordad as we come through in through turn 13, 14, turn 15 now. It's Wordad. He's on the inside, and this can be a very strong position. The hard runner maybe not able to get the traction he needs. Steph creeping in the rearview mirrors of the pair of these drivers. Look at the wheel-to-wheel exchange now. Coming through turn 18 into turn 19 on the outside for the Mercedes. There goes Wordad on the inside. What a move. What a move for Wordad, trying to hold on to the position he just took from the Mercedes, but it's going to be Melee. Wow, he is really fighting this. Really fighting this here. Where's Steph? He's still not able to do anything about this fight. He needs to catch up to these drivers. He needs to apply some extra pressure. Wordad still ahead of Melee now as we come up in turn 1. It's been a back and forth between these two for a sector now, nearly 2 sectors. Wordad is through into 10th position. What a fight. What a hard fought 10th position exchange this has been. Steph has just brought himself within 1 second. Now he's on the mediums. Oh, that was beautiful. That was absolutely beautiful. You love to see it. Melee now. He's looking at turn 11 now. Maybe an inside look. Sidewinder's pit. Okay. Sidewinder, he's pit. Jacob. I think Jacob has just won this race. Knock wood. If he is able to keep things really clean, keep things nice and proper here, he might just win this race. Sidewinder is going to be overtaken here. What will be the position that this race leader lands himself in? Does he have enough separation to the Renault? Surely. Yes, he does. So he is in third on the softs with 17 and, well, just about 17, nearly 18 seconds of a gap to Jacob, who was in and around that 1 second range before he came into that pit lane. That is a huge move for the Red Bull driver to jump in onto some softs. I'm scratching my head on that one. Jacob might be able to just fly this to the end because, well, Sidewinder 7.2 just to catch Jimsy, then 10.3 just to catch Jacob, and I don't care how fast you are. That's a huge amount of time to make up with this little time to go. But I've eaten my words before, and we'll just have to see if the Red Bull's able to make me do it today. Cheery, 8th position in his crosshairs. Spaniard really wanting to capture it from Paula here as we have another exchange. What's happened here? Melee off track. Steph moves through into 11th. Uncertain if there was an exchange on track between the two, but it certainly has been for position as Steph moves into 11th. Here we go. Cheery now, the Ferrari, looking for the Mercedes as we come down into turn 12. The inside for Cheery. Very late on the brakes for Cheery. Deep through into that hairpin as Paula will look to try and get a move back. We're moving through Unicorn's favorite section of circuit right now, but of course Paula right now not able to do anything about Cheery, and it was a neat move for Cheery, all things said and considered. Tight race in there. Paula, Cheery, One of the tightest gaps on track right now. If Paula has the opportunity to maybe get something back over on the Ferrari here, but of course 9th position right now for the Merc. Look at Sidewinder in that gap to Jimsy. Take a look. It has really broken down now. The Red Bull is charging. He is pushing 5.4. 5.4. 15 point. The gap. 16.2. So I think it was a mistake. But you never know what could happen to those medium tires. Maybe they just drop off such a cliff. It's that sector 3 really, then sector 1 potentially, that will get him the time that he needs over on those 2 drivers ahead of him. Because it's not just Jacob now that he's pushing to catch. It's that 4.5 to get Jimsy, and there's no penalties in it for the top 5. You like to see JA Games in there on the rear of Babatunde. Nearly 2 seconds the gap, or excuse me, it's Larkin. JA Games, Babatunde having a good race as well. Babatunde having a bit of an upset last week out. JA Games as well, mind you. Didn't have the best race. It's good to see them coming back in through the United States circuit and doing well. Gauzier going fresh softs. Look at this man go. He's on the hunt for some position, but he's utilizing every section of the track and every portion of the track to do it, nearly rear-ending the melee. Gauzier thinks he is speed right now, surely, and here he goes up the inside, and it's going to be a neat move for the Williams. An easy move for the Williams, and a secured move for the Williams. Into 12th position, his teammate Steph, now the only driver ahead of him. 6.9 and dropping the gap as he tries to break away from the hard runner behind him, Melee. On these hards, keeping up well with Gauzy through the first sector, but look at the slide, and that's where he's going to lose it, is trying to recover from those kinds of issues on these hard form tires. About 25 out of 28, Paula utilizing that DRS, the rear wing wide open. Only a few drivers on this grid with that capability right now, as there's not too many drivers with a gap of less than a second to get that optimized rear wing. Now look at Sidewinder, 2.1. He's set the fastest lap at 33 flat, 2.1 the gap. What's happened now? Spinini has had some Spinini problems here, and he's nearly been collected by Waffalorian or vice versa. Wow, that was tight. I'm holding onto a keyboard and mouse, and I feel like I felt that vibration through my ears. I feel like I felt that vibration as the McLaren charged through. And speaking of McLaren, Larkin going to put some moves in on JA. Babatunde has picked up a penalty of 3 seconds, and this could hurt depending on what happens in the final few laps of racing. If he takes any more, he could become very threatened to the driver behind him in JA. Larkin right now, however, keeping JA quite occupied, enough so that that gap to Babatunde is extending extensively. Here goes Larkin looking to the inside of the hairpin. He is going to lick that stamp and send it. JA really holding on right now. Larkin still not enough in it for him. JA Games pushing with what he's got right now just to stave off the Alfa Romeo, and I think it might be, well, not enough. As Larkin on the inside here. Huge cut there for Larkin. Coming through turn 12 is really going to give Jay an opportunity to move back through, and it's both Alfa Romeos now that are realistically in this equation. Of course, the pair of them have penalties, 3 and 9. Larkin Tholtz respectively. Sidewinder on the rear of Jimsy. Look at this, 3-lap-old softs versus 11-lap-old mediums. Oh. And a 3-second time penalty. That is not what you want to be doing. This strategy has surely not paid off in the end, I think, for Sidewinder here. At the very least, for a race win, it has not paid off. For a podium, it still could very well come through for him in a second or third placement. I think it might be third. It depends on what he's able to pull out of Jimsy here. But look at this. Speed, overtake, DRS, everything is in full utilization here over for the Red Bull. There we go. And it's a move into second position. Melee, Captain Minor on... Well, they're having an exchange on the way out of the first turn. Through now the first section. Melee back through into 12th position. Now we have a yellow flag appearing, and that is Steph. Steph dropping. And I'm not sure why. I think he might have just given Gazieg the position here. I think there was some team orders for the sake of Gazi and getting some points here in this division. And we love to see team dynamics like that. That's always great to see. As it's Larkin still on the rear of Jay. Of course, we're in the penultimate lap of this race. As what a race it's been, I'll say. We watch Larkin, Tholtz, within a second of this McLaren, the McLaren of Jay Games, without a penalty on him, and of course he'll like to keep it that way. Melee, Captain Minor, wheel to wheel through sector 3. I'm sorry, but I gotta switch back to this for a moment. Speaking of switchbacks, Captain Minor on the inside as we come through turn 15, now 16, through turn 17, 18. Melee, he's gonna drop to Captain Minor for 12th position. Captain Minor really trying to get that car rotated. He's gonna have to put it on the brakes a bit. This will give Melee an opportunity back through. What a battle we're seeing ensue here. We switch back on over to... Oh, we're not switching just yet. Hold on a second. Melee. Oh my, Captain Minor, is he later on the brakes? Is it enough for Captain Minor? Are we going to see this battle let up? Larkin's just on the rear of JA, and that's what we're peeking in closely at with our eyes here. JA, Larkin with a huge lunge into that hairpin is going to open him up to his teammate as well. That's going to be a huge loss for him. Tholtz is through, but he's got even more penalties than Larkin. So JA might be safe. Look at this. Tholtz now, he pushes through. He's going to get JA, but JA now, he knows it's the final lap as Jacob has begun coming through turn 1. This is just a wild race. I have thoroughly enjoyed this. I don't know if you can hear it, but I have thoroughly enjoyed this race, and I hope you have too. And I'd love to hear about how much you have enjoyed it if you did. In the chat or in the comments. Melee, that isn't a parking space, my dear friend, and that is not the race you want to be having after some fantastic battles either. But I'll tell you something, ladies and gentlemen. What a race it's been for this man, Jacob. He had the strategy right. He's got 3 seconds, but everybody has 3 seconds pretty well at this point. We look at the penalties. It's Jacob, Sidewinder, Jimsy. Jimsy needs to hold on to 3 seconds to Sidewinder. He needs to push with everything he's got, and he can get himself a second place finish here. This is absolutely crucial for him. Look at the position changes. The biggest winner has been Chiri. He started this race at the back of this grid in 20th. He is now in 8th position, and he is, well, he might not be in 8th position when Paula's done with him, but we'll just have to see, as she is very close to him coming through sector 1. Jacob now coming through sector 3. What's happened here? Melee, Spanini, they've had an exchange. Spanini doing some work. He's moved up 3 positions from where he began, despite having a very, very difficult up and down exchange. Alrighty, here we go. It's going to be this man right here. It's going to be Jacob with the race win. Very neatly done. Sidewinder will come across the line second, and I do believe the gap to Jimsy has been enough. And that will be Jacob, Sidewinder, and Jimsy, your top 3, as Babatunde will come through in 4th. Tholtz in 5th. Well, provisionally 5th for Tholtz, as I think the time penalties are going to get him, but that is going to round out the top 3 certainly here, as Waffalorian, Spanini, and Melee will catch the early checkered flag after having been lapped. J Games taking it easy through turn 19. Not a penalty on this man as he comes through in 6th position, and he'll be on the rear of a driver. Well, that is Tholtz, who's taken 9 seconds. Look at this drop. 5th for JA. Congratulations to him. Larkin will also capture his teammate, and Chiri will capture the pair of them, as it will be Paula moving through into 8th. Look at that. Jacob, Sidewinder, Jimsy for your top 3. Babatunde, JA Games 4-5, Chiri 6th, 7th for Larkin, Paula in 8th with Tholtz in 9th, and Gazieg. Well, Gazieg did it. He got the point in 10th. Captain Minor, 11th position for him after jumping Steph, and it will be Werdad, the final driver here in the racing point to cross the line here around the United States and taking a penalty while he does it. Wow, what an exchange of racing we saw here in Austin, Texas. That was the 19th round, well, the 4th round of this division, of course, and that will be now premiered on the YouTube channel. Hope you enjoy. We're of course going to have Tier 3 racing, the Americas Tier 1 action, Tier 2, Tier 1. All of the times can be found in the description down below, but what a race and what a win for Jacob after a solid race around the home circuit, and it's raining in the background apparently. Look at that, top 3 All-Americans here for the United States Grand Prix. Very, very nice. The fastest lap secured in the end by Word at a 32.376, however, not in the top 10, so no one will be securing that point overall. But what a great race, and again, big congratulations, Jacob, Sidewinder, Jimsy, the top 3 for this one. Now, of course, we'll just take a quick look at the race director for the sake of the replay, and everybody can have a sense of some of the exceeding and the corner cuts. It can be difficult for some of the drivers and how they go through here, but of course this has been a wild race. And again, my name is Strifium here from Canada. I hope you enjoyed it, and we will see you guys next week for another America's Tier 2 division race. It is going to be Mexico. It's going to be a very, very fun time, of course, and well, till then, next time.